70% of all your immune function is toward your digestion. So the biggest threat to our health, according to our own body, is what we eat, okay? And all these modern diseases is based on what we're eating. And heart disease is one. Doctors, lawyers, and dentists are at the bottom of longevity professions, okay? So if you're a doctor, you're supposed to be an expert on health. And you should be way above everybody else because that's your profession, is health. And they're at the bottom. If you look at longevity studies, the longest lived is music conductors, 8-10 hours a day of harmonies, okay? The next longest lived people is Japanese gardeners. And they figured out why because...
Welcome to this special recording from a live CHIA seminar here in London with the late, great Dr. Robin Murphy, one of the most influential and inspiring homeopathic teachers of his generation. In this session, Robin explores the homeopathic understanding of diabetes, looking beyond the diagnosis to consider the whole person, the underlying causes of illness, and the importance of vitality. He shares memorable clinical cases, discusses key homeopathic remedies, and examines the role of diet, nutrition, and natural therapeutics alongside homeopathic treatment. As always, Robin brings the subject to life through practical prescribing insights and compelling stories and more than 4 decades of clinical experience. So let's travel back to London and join the great Dr. Robin Murphy.
We're going to talk about the heart, okay? And there's so much to say about the heart. It's interesting, in ancient cultures, they didn't consider mind and emotions. It was only the heart, okay? Chinese medicine, the brain is not a major organ. It was always the heart. If you ask a child, if the child is Susie, you say, "Where's Susie?" They point to their heart. They don't point here. I mean, they eventually will say here, but a lot instinctively point to our heart, okay? So what in our heart and our gut? Last time we talked about the gut and gut feelings, and the gut as our second brain, and why all our serotonin, immune system, all that is all geared toward your gut. 70% of all your immune function is toward your digestion. So the biggest threat to our health, according to our own body, is what we eat, okay? And all these modern diseases is based on what we're eating. And heart disease is one. So even the doctors themselves, if you look at longevity studies, the longest lived is music conductors, 8-10 hours a day of harmonies, okay? The next longest lived people is Japanese gardeners. And they figured out why, because every winter, no matter how old they are, they have such motivation, they're planting their next garden. And that keeps us alive longer, okay? So when you retire somebody, they call it, there's a disease called ERDS, Early Retirement Death Syndrome. So it's like our soul, our unconscious, if we don't have a reason to get up in the morning, that's the beginning of depression, okay? And if we don't feel useful to the world, that's the beginning of depression, and you see people age. 6 months after they quit their job, they died, and all that. So all this, and the insurance company know the peak. They have all the statistics on it, okay? And doctors, lawyers, and dentists are at the bottom of longevity professions, okay? So if you're a doctor, you're supposed to be an expert on health, and you should be the longest lived. You should be way above everybody else because that's your profession, is health, and they're at the bottom. Highest divorce, suicide rates, drug addictions, and all that. Lower than people with no training, okay? So that tells us a lot about our methodology. And again, the diet and the heavy drug medications on the population, heart attacks, deaths from heart disease, half of the population. Now cancer is catching it. There's a race. Cancer 25%, but cancer is growing. Heart disease is leveling off at half the population. 25% cancer, 50% heart disease. 75% of the population die from preventable diseases, okay? And this is one of the biggest. What we eat remakes our body, okay? In Ayurveda, they have 7 stages of what happens to food after you eat it and what tissues it goes to, okay? And that's remarkable to see that. Now, I don't want to get gross people out, but what you eat remakes your body, okay? So you're going to think about what that means. If you eat a lot of vegetables and all that, you're remaking your body with compost, basically. If you eat a lot of excuse the expression, dead animals, then that's being reincorporated into your body, okay? And certain things grow, whether you eat compost or whatever, okay? So heart disease, it's preventable, it's treatable, it's curable, and all this, okay? And again, the same approaches, natural foods, hawthorn berry, pomegranate juice, back to Persia again, ancient Persia, saffron and pomegranate juice. They were curing everything, okay? Just 8 ounces, a glass of 3 times a day, blood pressure, heart problems going away, all by research, okay? And hawthorn berries, that's my favorite herb of all time. And then we got Qigong, yoga, Tai Chi, all these exercises. The only other thing I'd put up here is walking. If you take those 4, you got to do one of those 4, in my opinion. Running, weightlifting, none of that there's no evidence it ever improves longevity, okay? Or improves health. You get short-term benefits, long-term problems, okay? So also homeopathy, acupuncture, even some body work, all these things can help the heart. But a lot of our heart is really connected to our psychology also. The ancient Sanskrit word for heart is hriday, and it's the same word for mind and emotions. It's the same word. There's no distinction. Okay. So this is just anatomy of the heart and all that. So we'll skip that. And you just see the blood flows in and out. So amazing thing. And you look at doctrine of signatures, the plants and things that look like a heart are good for the heart. Unbelievable. As you'll see some slides on that. So then we have this plaque buildup and all this from cholesterol and these things. And just cutting down on animal products will reduce that and prolong life. One study says 16 years you can extend the life, okay, by lowering this. And these plaques. Now, why does DE work and diatomaceous earth work? We believe the silica also helps scrape these clean, but it makes the arteries more elastic. And when you have an elastic artery, your blood pressure is regulated. If it's too tight all the time, it's called high blood pressure. So if you have a narrower pipe for the blood to flow through, it's going to be higher pressure. But if it expands and contracts. So again, a lack of silica in the diet, okay, is one of the causes of high blood pressure and heart disease. A lack of silica and too much animal protein and cholesterol will cause these problems. And it's amazing, every group in the United States, American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, American Heart, every one of them, all the recommendations, eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. Every one of them recommend it. And I bet you 99% of the people in those organizations don't do it. But they know, the science shows them, and especially food with color. You look at your plate every day and see if there's some color in it. And those colors are anthocyanins and antioxidants, and you want blues and yellows and all that. In Ayurveda, they teach the taste. You want to have some of the different tastes on every meal. That's why they have some sour, some raita, some yogurt, some cooling things, some spicy things, and all this, because of the taste. And as we age, our taste changes, okay? So keeping the taste vibrant and variety of taste helps the body, okay? And I talked about oil pulling here. Yeah, I think last time, that they just take sesame oil and you swish it around your mouth, and that rejuvenates the taste buds and cures all kinds of dental work. For 10 to 15 minutes, you have to walk around the house, you can't talk, and you just swish. When you spit it out, it should be white foam, but you don't swallow it. It's the white foam. And brain fog, sleep, all kinds of things are helped just by that, cleaning out the taste buds. And people end up craving healthier foods because of that. Okay, so same map with every disease. It's all economic in that. So most of the heart disease and all this here, it's also in the bigger cities and stuff, but south is usually where all the diseases are. Okay, and in women, it's the most misdiagnosed problem with heart disease, and that because they consider a man disease, a big man having a heart, or exerting himself, shoveling snow, and has a heart attack. But congestive heart failure and all that, you can have no symptoms. Okay, stress can build up, or depression severe and not treated, and then the heart can give way. In developed countries, it's number one. So it's number one in the United States too. You're talking hundreds of thousands of people a year think of 700,000 Americans die a year of heart disease, all preventable, and all just a little mental choice. And the physicists say you have a line right here, and you turn 1 millimeter, and you will end up a million miles away from the original point. That one little change, tweaking someone's diet, the whole rest of their life can be affected. Okay? Drop one junk food, drop one thing. And I always meet people wherever they're at. I've practiced so many in Texas. I worked on a health ranch. We had yoga classes in Tai Chi, and I was doing homeopathy there. And all the people I treated were beef cattlemen and ranchers. And I never said anything about diet to them. They came because they hurt their back, give them Russ Tox, they did this. And by the time I left there after a few years, they were eating better and healthier because they felt healthier. I said, yeah, you keep eating like that, you know. You cut down on that salt, you just keep your energy up. Oh, yeah. They listen after the homeopathy has kind of raised up their vibration. Then they listen to you. But to preach diet first, you're going to hit a brick wall, okay? Whether it's culturally or mentally or habits, you hit a brick wall. We want to fix them with homeopathy first. Then they're much more receptive to improving their diet. And this is just statistics in women as they age and heart disease, okay? And again, I think this is from my women's health lecture. That's why it's all in here. And different diseases and all that. Okay, so this is in the repertory. And you can see many, many big remedies here. I think the ones I put in red are ones I like, my favorite ones. But if they're bold and capital, they're important, okay? And aconite, one of our acute remedies for heart attacks, okay? Kofia also. So if you have a first aid kit and you have coffee, homeopathic coffee or aconite in it, and you see someone in a panic. Also, I've seen rescue remedy work, okay? And that. And so that's for the more panic. And the classic description of a heart attack is cactus. Cactus grandifolia, night blooming cactus. I went to Arizona and I stayed with some friends of mine, and in the middle of the night, they woke me up. They're knocking on the door, two women. They're knocking on the door, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning. What happened? They said, come. I said, what? So I'm half dressed. They go outside. And the day I landed in Tucson, Arizona, that night, their night blooming cactus bloomed. And they had been waiting for years for it to bloom. And I got a picture of me right by the cactus. So it's a night blooming cactus, which means it's very special. It blooms in the moonlight, this type of thing. But cactus is so, if you think of cactus and the spines and all that, and the classic, you know, I don't want to get too graphic with you guys with some of this stuff, but it's as if your heart is wrapped in wire, barbed wire, and someone's twisting it and tightening it. So I was on an air flight somewhere to India, and they're showing this stuff, a documentary about heart attack, and they describe the cactus case perfectly, okay? So it feels as first the throat or the heart, it's just squeezed and contracted. Just that contraction. Also, it's good for the uterus that feels squeezed. It's like a spasm that doesn't spasm, it just locks. It's getting tighter and tighter. That constrictive pain is the biggest keynote for that remedy. So aconite and cactus are two big keynotes. Arnica, big one for heart attacks from overexertion. You don't even think about it. Just give arnica, okay? Or a tonic, if you have a tonic with you, okay? This apple cynum, one of my favorite remedies, and it's a rare remedy. It's Indian hemp, where they make fiber from, not the hemp that we eat, okay? Apple cynum, and that's good for congestive heart failure with people with swollen abdomen and swollen limbs, okay? I had one patient, I gave her that tincture alone, okay? You can also give it homeopathic. It's in all the homeopathic books. I gave her a tincture, she lost 40 pounds of water. So she's in a clinic, and I showed the students, I just hit that, and you can hear the water. They call it ascites. So you can have ascites, you can look it up in the repertoire as ascites, and it could be from the kidneys. Someone's losing protein in their urine. They call it nephrotic syndrome, and you will get swollen. The whole child or person will swell up, their face will swell up. You can also have ascites from the liver, cirrhosis of the liver, the last stages, and their legs and hands can swell up, and you can also have ascites from the heart. So when someone is swollen, you want to find out what organ it's coming from, kidneys, liver, or heart, okay? And some other ones, we're going to talk about Digitalis, one of the biggest underprescribed remedies in homeopathy. Homeopathic Digitalis, where they get the actual drug from. But this is the whole plant. If you know anybody, I'm sure this is a rare problem. If you know any man in their 50s or 60s with heart problems, blood pressure, and prostate problems, Digitalis. Right? It's common. So a lot of time, and I found the high blood pressure medication or the heart beta blockers, heart disease medication often, and then the prostate problems follows that. And especially if someone's been on a lot of diuretics. That diuretics, you have to compensate with some superfoods and tonics because you're losing a lot of nutrition to the urination. So making someone urinate a lot to lower their blood pressure a little, we don't think is a good idea. Okay, so that's a good one. Crataegus we'll talk about, Digitalis we'll talk about, Lacus we'll talk about. Latrodectus, it's a little remedy, but the only remedy in our Materia Medica that fits the actual symptoms of heart disease. The left arm, numb, radiating pains down there. So if you know someone in your family, it'd be good to order that remedy because it's usually not in first aid kits or anything like that. To have that remedy on hand. Latrodectus. I think it's a spider venom. Yep. Lithium, lobelia, all these have something. Nausea is famous for what? Yeah, valvular problems in the heart. Yep. So mitral valve problems and stuff like that. And Nature Mure, I would definitely raise up, capitalize that. I can't go in there and just raise up one. I have to wait till I redo the whole book. But Nature Mure, it's famous for what kind of heart problem? Anybody know? Emotional. Yes, but what's the symptoms? Huh? Fluttering, yes. The fluttering, the heart flutters. And I actually wrote poetry about this stuff because we got a rib cage, right? And it's as if a bird is in the rib cage and that, trapped in the rib cage, all that. So it's fluttering. After grief, heart disease, after grief, I mean, go to the grief remedies. Now, out of these grief remedies, which ones are famous for treating heart problems? And you're going to narrow down to 5 or 10 remedies, just like that, by knowing what to prescribe. Hahnemann said we must perceive, not analyze, not speculate, not do all this. We must perceive. And that means to look with understanding. Just like the hypericum case. I just see a woman there, and she's afraid to puncture herself. And then she has sharp-shooting pains. I perceive hypericum. I don't have to go to the books. I mean, if you just know that one keynote of hypericum. So we're down to hypericum or leadum. Sharp-shooting pains, hypericum. Okay? One dose took it all away. I mean, it didn't cure her diabetes. Make sure that's a whole other story. But that got cured, by one dose. I was about to show you a remedy, and it's not here. One of my favorite remedies is Kali arsenicum. So you want to add Kali arsenicum here and put it black type. And a few things upset me in life, but I had to edit 120,000 paragraphs. So every time I look at it, and I don't look at the repertory just for that reason, because every time I look at a rubric, I see stuff I could have added. So already there's 2 additions right here. Upgrade Nat Mir and add Kali arsenicum. Kali arsenicum, potassium arsenate, is very potent. They used to inject it in horses to make them run faster. But the horse's life will become a lot shorter. Okay? And the number 1 remedy, now we have aconite for acute. Oh, my heart, that's acute. Kali arsenicum is a chronic form of that. Okay? Potassium and really Kali carbon arsenicum album combined. Kali arsenicum. Unbelievable fears that they're going to have a heart attack. Their whole life runs around that. I can't lift anything, I can't move anything, and they get a little out of breath, a little palpitation, they have a freak out, then they get more palpitations. So it's a catch-22. Their panic is really causing acute palpitations, which they interpret as having a heart attack. And the more fear and adrenaline goes, the more the palpitations. So if someone has a chronic panic attacks about anxiety about their heart, there's no better remedy than Kali arsenicosum. It's also good for these, what they call these adrenal tumors. You get a tumor on your adrenal gland, and a person can be walking down the street, and all of a sudden, without nothing happening, it releases all this adrenaline. The person has this horrible panic attack, okay, because of a tumor. Forgot the exact name of it, okay. Phosphorus we talk about. Spongia is another one, and it feels like a lump in the throat, okay, or a sponge. Now, Spongia's heart is as if it's expanding and it's going to explode, okay. But in chronic disease, we want to kind of look, okay, when you do have palpitations, what's it like? And that. Some of these, Spigelia, Crataegus, Cactus, or Apocynum, are all tinctures that you can use, okay? Lachesis, we'll talk about, biggest remedy. You got heart disease and alcoholism. Think of Lachesis. Heart disease, high blood pressure, alcoholism, and a very, how do you say it nicely, animated person. Passionate seems a little, very argumentative, talk a lot, all this stuff. So it's that mental attitude that's raising the blood pressure and damaging the heart. We'll talk about some of these. And here's aconite here, acute heart attack and panic attacks. I used to call aconite or homeopathic Valium. Rescue remedy or aconite. Anybody comes in or you treat with panic attacks, those two will usually palliate them very well. Buy you more time to study their whole case or whatever. But I feel patients walking around with something in their pocket or purse, it makes all the difference in the world. Okay, just that security of something. They're allergic to bee stings and they have apis with them. Okay, just that security is enough. Okay, fear of death, of course, panic, fear of death, is after a fright or overexertion. Arnica is more for overexertion, but this is a fright. You see something happen, a car accident or something, and your heart starts racing, and you can't stop it. Even, the person's all right, but the heart keeps going. Aconite, rescue remedy. Plethoric, what's that mean? Plethoric subjects, old medical terms. No, it means full, but not body size. Plethoric means blood full. It means passionate people. People whose face turns red with emotion, they're plethoric, they're full of blood, okay? So we call animated people will need aconite. Aconite's a strong reaction. So people are sensitive and a lot of emotions react strongly to things, okay? Classic chest pains, angina, sudden violent onset, okay? And it may reoccur. And sometimes it's post-traumatic stress syndrome where a person has anxiety and panic attacks. One of the best things in post-traumatic stress syndrome is always check if they have nightmares, okay? And that's the biggest indication whether your remedies are working or not. And sometimes I just prescribe it for a patient, and I just have him take aconite 30C once at night because he's had all these nightmares of war. It's from Vietnam. He's still having nightmares from Vietnam. Is that 50 years ago? 40 years ago? 40 years ago. Still having nightmares. So just take aconite 30 every night. I got to clear out those nightmares and that. And if you want to have some fun, won't get too much. Learn lucid dreaming, okay? And look up on the internet the Lucid Dreaming Institute or Lucidity Institute, and it's unbelievable how you can cure so many things by just teaching people how to wake up in their dream, and you change the dream, you change their life. And these dreams keep reoccurring and reoccurring and reoccurring. Until a remedy or a lucid dream gets rid of it, that's it, okay? I tell all kinds of stories, the dream, the whole dream world. We go to sleep, we're unconscious for 8 hours. We're missing the greatest adventures of our life. Okay? Unbelievable stuff. And my first wife passed away. I was depressed for 6 months. Very depressed. Okay, I didn't want to do anything and all that. And I woke up in a dream, and she was in heaven. And I said, "What are you doing?" She didn't recognize. She was having so much fun. She was showing all these big tomatoes and things, and she was growing, and she was in bliss. I woke up, I was so angry. And she's up there having a good time, and I'm down here depressed. And no more depression. One dream cured depression. I got depressed, but I wouldn't want to take a remedy. That's how bad it was, okay? One dream cured it. It's like that. So we all have that in us. You can cure yourself without any remedies, too, And you can go in those dreams and wake it up. Change of the dream. So I had one woman, she was being chased by a robber or a rapist every time in a dream, and I taught her, she's one of my Qigong students, I taught her to turn around a dream and challenge that person. She turned around and challenged that person started smiling and came up. Okay? And Sonoy people in Indonesia, they teach their children, because all children have dreams of monsters. Without TVs, they still have dreams of monsters. One child has a dream of a big tiger coming, they eat them, they panic. And the father says, no, that tiger has something for you, it's your friend. So in the next dream, he turned around and said, you're my friend, and came up. And now the boy woke up the next day, and the tiger's by his side in every dream, and the tiger became his protector. So you turn the tables. Okay? Tibetans had a whole science of dreams. Dream yoga. Okay? Coffee. Now this tells us so much about coffee. Like cures like. So heart patients need to cut down on their coffee because it has all the symptoms of heart disease and panic attacks and acute heart attacks. Okay? Now it's a very strange remedy. Heart attacks plus panic attack. Okay, sudden palpitations. Worse from stress, diet, low blood sugar, insomnia, sleepiness, and this and this and that. But the main symptom right here, due to overexcitement. A lot of you heard my stories about this, kophia. Now there's a rubric in there that bothered me for many, many years. It doesn't bother me anymore. Ailments due to pleasant surprises. Illnesses due to being too happy, to pleasant surprises. Okay? I said, why is that? That's not pathological. How can you get sick from being too happy? I can see excited, but actually you can be too happy. And one day I was sitting with my mother watching TV and one of the game shows. Now you know they filter the people out in the game shows. They want to get the animated ones, the ones that get emotional and jump around when they win something. So this lady was there, and we're watching the game show, and she won the biggest prize. She was jumping around, her face was turning red, and I said, that's kophia. Someone wins a lottery. What's Morissette? What's her? Alanis Morissette. You know the song? Isn't it ironic? The man wins the lottery, next day he dies. Kophia. I forgot the actual term like that. Isn't it ironic? He wins the lottery ticket, and the next day he dies. Okay. Aurum, spend the whole day on this one. But heart disease plus depression, plus insomnia too. And it's a high blood pressure medicine. But this rules everything. You'll usually see a big grief or shock. It may be financial or loss of a loved one. And gold, this is gold, metallic gold. Gold is what we value in life. So all these people that commit suicide because their business failed, aurum. Or they lost a husband or wife that they depended on, and it's like there's nothing there anymore. Their whole life was focused on that person. And classic is someone builds a family business. Classic. It's in there, all these movies. Build a family business. Now the sons or daughters don't want to take over the family business. And he worked his whole life to build it for them. And you find these people with a stoic face, depressed, they're always nice and pleasant. Nature, mirror, and aurums can fool everybody. Okay? But behind that mask, there's a beautiful Smokey Robinson song, 100% nature mirror. The tears, I forgot, tracks of my tears. If you read, that's so nature mirror. If you look a little closer, you'll see that, and you know the tracks are the salt left on. Okay? And I forgot how it goes, but people say I'm the life of the party, but deep inside I'm blue. If you look a little bit closer, you'll see the tracks of my tears. Nature mirror, pure. All the songs, it's right there. Okay, you take the top songs and what's resonating, and that's what's going on in our population. Okay, so big one. Insomnia can even be worse than carcinosin. But their insomnia is not just a mental thing. Aurum insomnia is because of pain. Nerve pain, bone pains, okay, late stage syphilis, all this type of severe stuff, severe insomnia, or pain so bad that they want to kill themselves. Okay, so you got two choices. You go give that remedy for the depression, or you give a remedy for the pain, or you give a tonic for the pain and a remedy for the depression, or something. But two things have to be dealt. Sometimes just treating the depression, if you don't get rid of the pain, the depression will come back, okay? And you say, why are you depressed? Because I'm in pain. Are you crazy? You know? Okay, so The pain is more important than the depression. That's how we think in homeopathy. In every other, philosophy course, they could say the depression rules the pain. No, not if the pain is the cause of the depression. Okay? Okay, worse at night, worse from sunrise to sunset, there's definite patterns with Orm. Deep, deep hopelessness, usually about financial things or love life or their value of their life. The gold watch you get at retirement, how symbolic. Our gold ring around the sun finger in the palmistry, we put the gold on the gold finger. It's amazing, okay? But I gotta go faster, else we would never get through this. Nature mirrors we talked about. Heart disease with some edema or dryness. So again, salt affects the kidneys, right? So you can have dry lips and swollen feet. You think of nature mirror. The classic dry lips with a crack, okay? Classic symptom. That doesn't mean that person has heart disease, but it can confirm that remedy for them. Okay, very introverted, very proper, very easygoing. A lot of therapists and homeopaths are nature mirrors. Okay, and there's this TED, TED Talks. Everybody knows that? Technology, something talks. And there's a TED Talk, and I just go through, I like to listen to the TED Talks. I always learn something. And one talk, I said, this is interesting. The whole talk was on one word, vulnerability. Everybody that knows nature mirror, they know that's what they feel so vulnerable that they're always protecting themselves. Okay, French word, a Latin word for wall is mural. Nature mural. They build a wall around them, around their heart. So their heart is shut down because, as what's her name, Tina Turner says, what's love got to do with it? If love can break your heart, they want nothing. That's so classic nature mirror. Okay. So heart disease, fluttering, palpitations, arrhythmias, valvular problems, all this type of stuff. There's no heavy things like plaques or needing bypasses or pacemaker, but it's a lot of heart disease. And heart disease plus blood pressure problems. The classic naturopathic treatment we did for years was Nature Mirror 6X and hawthorn berry tincture. We gave it to every heart patient routinely. Okay. Nature Mirror 6X and hawthorn berry tincture. Crataegus, 5 to 10 drops. I had a practice in Dallas, and the whole practice was geriatric, elderly people. And I gave out so much hawthorn berries. We'll talk about that. There's one thing that feeds your heart, it's hawthorn berries. Okay? So water imbalances and the craving for salt. Okay? Kent used to say, if you can't figure out a person's case, take them to lunch. And he described actually a nature and carb patient, but I'll describe a nature mirror. You sit down on lunch for that, and the first thing you see what chair they pick. Okay? And you sit, you sit there, and they pick the chair with the sun behind them because they're photophobic. Or they have sunglasses on. Okay? And then you see, on purpose I move the salt out of the way and see if they go grab the salt across the table. Make a little effort for it. Oh, could you pass the salt? They're looking at their meal. Oh, can you pass the salt? So you got salt, photophobia, all this stuff right there. Cactus we talked about, constriction and contraction can be any muscle, even the Charlie horses, the cramps from running and stuff, like a sudden constriction. It could be the whole heart. It could be the throat. Okay, shortness of breath. I call it the toothpaste remedy. So when you squeeze toothpaste, the toothpaste comes out. So when the heart or the throat gets squeezed, all the anxiety and panic comes out. Just a little image for your brain. Okay? Shortness of breath. So as this is being constricted, you'll see them not being able to breathe. Okay? So palpitations, red face, head congestion, and all this stuff. Classic symptoms. But usually in emergency, you won't have much choices. And this is a big one for chronic disease. For many years, I don't know about now in allopathy, if they're still using Digitalis. I think they're using alkaloids of it, okay? But a lot of poor circulation, weakness. They might have had 1 or 2 heart attacks. They've been on a lot of medications, and now they have some swelling, edema, and then you start getting the prostate problems. It's a big prostate problems, okay? Irregular heartbeat and pulse and all this, and shortness of breath, classic symptoms. but I see usually overweight, elderly gentlemen with heart and prostate problems. And I believe they're connected. Okay, and there's all kinds of stuff up here talking about it here. Palpitations excited by talking and motion, lying down, and all this. Sensation as if the heart would stop beating if one moved. Gelsemium has that, Digitalis has it. All the old homeopathic quizzes and tests, that's one of the quizzes. You know, they got to keep moving, else their heart will stop, or they're afraid to move, else their heart will stop. And you have to choose which remedy. So we get all into these little details in that. I was in India, and I was the host of the All Indian College, I don't know what they call that. It's a competition, a homeopathic competition. I'm sitting there, 500 people are in the audience, and I have to give the questions to the students from the different colleges. And the colleges will get eliminated and see which college, one college out of 100 colleges in India win every year and all that. And every time they couldn't get a question, the whole audience would look at me. And I'd say, that's it. They put a big old pink flower there with black. Not one person in India knew it. And they looked at me. I said, that's echinacea. It's growing in my front yard. They all clapped. So it's amazing. I guess it doesn't grow in India. It's like a southwest desert something. Okay? So think of Digitalis. Especially if someone's been on Digitalis. You got a history, someone's been on Digitalis with some heart problems, a weak heart, and this stuff. The weak heart and shortness of breath are connected. Okay? And they call it COPD. I'm trying to remember what the initial mean. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Yeah. And silica and DE is very good for that. Shortness of breath. Calc carbs is also a good remedy for shortness of breath. And some good tonics too, oxygenating tonics. Lachesis, classic heart disease patient. Again, his lifestyle, extremely high blood pressure, especially when they're argumentative or angry or explosive attacks. They could be alcoholics. They don't have to be. I mean, you can give Lachesis 6C or something. You don't have to have the whole picture of Lachesis, just so you know that. But similar to Cactus with constricted feelings. And they sleep into some of their problems. So they start going to sleep and their heart starts racing. They can't go to sleep, okay, and that. Left-sided, classic ones. And all the classic keynotes, okay. Mood changes, very passionate. Very loquacious people. Talk a lot. Phosphorus, again, a chronic remedy for hearts, classic keynotes for phosphorus. Their heart is because they give so much energy out to other people. They're like Kofiya. So it's like Kofiya without all the drama. Okay, they're sensitive to light and noise and sympathetic, and things just melt their heart. And you know who they are when a commercial comes on TV about animals in the shelter, and they can't watch that stuff. It just breaks their heart to watch it. Animal in pain or suffering and this stuff. So their sympathy, they have too much sympathy. Sympathy and compassion are a little different. Compassion is you're acting on your care for people. Sympathy, you're feeling their pain. We want compassion, okay? It's like a lot of hands-on healers. Whenever you send your energy into another person, there's an equal amount of their energy flowing back into you. It's inescapable. We can believe it's coming through us where we want, but it's a push-pull, okay? So phosphorus are the worst people to do the energy work because they'll get other people's stuff. Okay, so if it's a phosphorus woman married to a Lachesis husband, and you can see that she can end up with heart disease, okay, because she's so connected with that person. Okay, and some tonics, and to me, you want to rebuild that heart. You want to make it stronger. Okay, almonds and almond milk. If you can get a heart patient just to switch from regular milk to almond milk. I mean, there's other milks, but almond milk is the most therapeutic. Coconut milk is second, but almond milk strengthens the heart. If you have a child that's weakly, doesn't have good stamina, not good confidence, you switch the milks into almond milk. You see that child's more down to earth, and they get more tone in their muscles and all that. But it strengthens the heart. The yogis will prescribe almonds as if they were pills. 3 to 4 almonds 2 or 3 times a day for 3 months. And a lot of times, tonic prescriptions are 1 season. 3 months. So whenever you start it, say give it 3 months. Even though we see DE and charcoal work in the first few days or a week, we still keep them on it for 3 months to really start changing and rebuilding the heart. And that these are things you just incorporate in your life, okay? And buckwheat is one of the healthiest grains, gluten-free. It's also nourishing to the heart. And cayenne, I'll talk a little about that. A little, yeah. All right. And goji berries, very good, unbelievable goji berries. In China, they used to just take the goji berries and pour hot water over it and drink goji berry tea. Okay, and I actually made a tincture for that, and I got so much good results, we potentized it. So we have potentized goji berry and a tincture. I had one patient in the hospital in Chicago, and she just kept doing the goji berries. She wanted a tincture. We started giving her remedy, and all, I want that goji berry tincture. And dying of heart disease, and the goji berry tincture was there. And one formula I found in China for the eyes, for all kinds of eye disease, you take the chrysanthemum flowers, you pick the flower and wash it off, and put it in the pan, you pour some goji berries in there, pour warm water. The ancient Chinese things rejuvenate your eyes, goji berries and chrysanthemum flowers. Okay? And grapes, again, grapes are as good as wine. They have the same amount of resveratrol, and resveratrol is what's in this Japanese knotweed here. If you guys have it, I mean, how much money is in these things that people are trying to kill? Resveratrol is one of the most expensive supplements out there. I mean, you're talking just small amounts, milliliters costing a lot, okay? And it's $80 for a little bottle of this stuff, and then it has all these other things in it. But resveratrol is one of the biggest things in biochemical approach to anti-aging, and that's the knotweed. So all we have to do is get the Latin name for what's here. Hawthorn berries I'll talk about, pomegranate I'll talk about. Suma, how many people know suma? Okay, so that's a very famous herb in Brazil. Okay, they also call it Brazilian ginseng. Suma is one of the best for women with heart disease. So it's heart disease with menopause, heart disease with PMS, heart disease with fibroid, heart disease with that. So it's also good for men and women, but it rejuvenates the hormones and it helps the heart. Okay, so a herbal tincture. Of course, herbal mates in there, wasabi, walnuts, some other things. Okay, and you can find the foods in there. Pecans and walnuts are good nuts. All the nuts, if you don't have a nut allergy, all the nuts are good for the heart. They strengthen the heart and the brain and that. So much good stuff in there. People know teff? Yeah. Great stuff. That's why the Ethiopian runners have never been defeated, because their carbohydrate source is teff, gluten-free grain, ancient grain from Bible times. Here's just some home remedies, okay? Celery. People go on celery, get your heart patient, tell them to get a juicer. You know, it can change their life. One juicer or one blender can change someone's life, okay? And celery juice, very good diuretic for people with high blood pressure and all this stuff and that. So they have some of the chemicals there, a few stalks of celery, and you can just eat them too. Kidney tonic, asparagus, celery, and cucumbers. 3 superfood kidney tonics, okay? Then watermelon seeds, a good remedy for high blood pressure. Native Americans will roast them and eat them like pumpkin seeds. Or you can pour water over them and make a tea out of them and strain the liquid, okay? Oh, there's another tip in there for carrots. Carrot spinach, that's just different ways of juicing this stuff. But especially in the summer, and we're supposed to engorge ourselves on what's in season, okay? Last year, one of our friends has this apple tree. So I got pictures, and this one little apple tree come here about 10, 15 feet. Had like 1,000 apples on it. Like 1,000. We couldn't believe it. And there was hundreds on the ground. Hundreds. So we just started eating it and thinking of all the ways to do it. When strawberries are in season, engorge yourself in strawberries. And when things come, we are genetically, designed to do that, to eat seasonally too, locally and seasonally. Okay, and amla, a big remedy in India, hair tonics, skin tonics, soaps, lotions, and a big tonic, one of the oldest tonics, Chawan Pradesh. You can buy it at an Indian store, and it's basically amla, which is gooseberries. It's also called amalaki. but it's a berry. You can cook with it and stuff. Okay. Boiled potato water has been used for lowering blood pressure. I'm going to just go through some of these tips real quick. You'll get the slides. So, grapefruit. I did the research on grapefruit. Grapefruit's unbelievable. A grapefruit seed oil is unbelievable. It'll clean your whole house, your car, everything. It's potent stuff, and just drops of it internally. So grapefruits are really powerful. About once a month I crave it. Okay, so it's good for high blood pressure. Helps toning up the blood vessels and all this. Garlic, most people know, and honey and ginger juice. The biggest consumer of ginger I know is me. I never travel with ginger tea all the time. At least 1 or 2 cups a day. The strongest ginger I can get. Okay, so my body craves ginger. Now, here's the biggest tonic. Hawthorn berries. I want to figure out how they named this too. So I know there's famous writers and people named Hawthorn, but why they call it a hawthorn berry. But unbelievable. This is a tree of a friend of mine. It's on the Maine coast, right on the ocean. This old hawthorn berry tree. And every summer he goes and picks the berries and makes a tincture and sends me my own personal tincture from this old tree and that. So it's red, like goji berries, good, a lot of red stuff. Tomatoes, pomegranates, all these red foods are good for the heart. Okay? But unbelievable for all kinds of things. High blood pressure, arteriosclerosis, congestive heart, especially for people recovering from heart disease. Or you have a weak heart and there's no symptoms to prescribe on, okay? Or someone's just elderly and they get out of breath and shortness of breath and palpitations and all this. They have to stop and all the hawthorn berries. Someone had 1, 2, 3 heart attacks. Put them on hawthorn berries. 3 months, 6 months, okay? I practiced in Florida and Dallas, and both of those places, hawthorn berries was the number one thing leaving the office, okay? And you can get the jam, you can get a juice, you can make teas out of it, you can make a hawthorn berry molasses, you can make the tincture, and all kinds of things. You can buy big bags of the dried berries and just pour warm water over it. Or grind them up and put the dry powder right in your smoothies. So a tea, tincture, or what. The doctors I worked with, Dr. Bastier, and they would make the jam. Dr. Christopher, they'd make a jam. And they make the jam for the patient, and they would take 1 teaspoon and put it in a cup and pour hot water over it, and the patient would drink it. And they said that was the best form, that and the tincture. It's the best form, okay? Heart muscles weakened by age. It helps dilate the blood vessels, lower cholesterol, all this type of stuff. And this is also for mitral valve prolapse, okay, and arrhythmias and stuff. So hawthorn and natmere, hawthorn and lachesis, hawthorn and digitalis, it just goes well. And, I've tried it in potency, it doesn't work. So hawthorn seems to work better nutritionally as a herbal tonic. It's in every homeopathic book as a herbal tonic, okay? And here's some of the classic symptoms of that. Overwork, fatigue, or just elderly people, irregular beats, and all this, and they're constantly going to the doctor, they can't find out, they don't have a clear diagnosis. Hawthorn berries, a good tonic to start. Now, what I was about to say about the word hawthorn, isn't it supposed to have an E on it? I guess some people, nope? Okay. But we're going to do some Qigong. So we'll do 1 Qigong right now. So every organ in Qigong has a healing sound, okay? So the liver sound is shoo, ooh, like your shoes with a ooh on the end. You're supposed to make your eyes bright at the end. Chinese medicine, they said liver and eyes are connected, okay? The spleen sound is hu, W-H-O, and you're holding the O as if you're blowing through a didgeridoo, hu. Now, the kidney sound, very interesting, is shari, which is French for dear one. And kidneys, love, Venus, and love goddess and all that. And shari, and you hold the re sound. And while you're holding the kidneys, you feel the kidneys vibrating with that sound. So guess what the heart sound is? Haw, H-A-W. And they say there's no coincidences. Okay? So we have to do one right quick, okay? And we're going to take our hand. You want to take your left hand first over your heart and put your right hand on top. And you want to get these 2 points is pericardium 6 in that right on top of the heart. Now I'm going to inhale, and we're going to hold the haw sound. Okay, so it's a HA. We're holding the AW sound on the end. So inhale, haw. 3 times. Very good. One more time. And you can train people to do that, to a sonic healing of the heart. And I taught you the heart mudra, right, last time? People remember it? The deer's head, it's called apana, deer's head. Take the index finger and jab it into the base of the thumb. Now you can take this, and I can jab both in. Now I can sit here, and do the sound and heal this. Okay? And we've seen it work. 3 cases. Instant stopping of heart attacks. Okay? I mean, that's what I wanted to cancel. Okay? See what else here. Big one, worst exertion for hawthorn berries. Just classic symptoms. Now, pomegranate. Now, look at this. If that's not a heart, I don't know what is. It has actual chambers and everything. In ancient Persia, #1 remedy for heart disease. You know, the drink of Persian kings was pomegranate wine. And you can still buy pomegranate wine. Some companies still make it, and they will drink it. And I bet that beats all the great wines for heart disease. Okay? And pomegranate, there's all kinds of research on it. It's good. It's been used traditionally, especially in Iran, for diarrhea, dysentery, intestinal parasites. The seeds and juice are also considered a tonic for the heart and throat. Okay? It stops bleeding, so it's a bleeding remedy. Nosebleeds, gum bleeds. They also make tonics for toning up the skin. It's very astringent. And they mix it, the juice and stuff, with oils and massage the breasts for sagging breasts. Of course, we just tell people to do breast massage, do the same thing. Very good for heart disease and that. And I think I have some research coming up. 3 glasses a day of pomegranate juice. It was like 90% cure of high blood pressure. Research in India and Pakistan. See, I'm not proud. I don't care where the research is coming from. If it sounds good, I'm going to try it. I've talked to doctors, and because I said it was from Pakistan, they dismissed it. Okay? They didn't want to say what kind of study it was and all that. But it's that effective. And you can also buy in almost every store pomegranate molasses, right? You can buy that, and you can take teaspoons of that and mix it in water or juice and drink it as a tonic. Okay? So you got juice, jam, all the same things as hawthorn berries. Okay? And the tincture. And you can get the right fruit in that. And when you go shopping, you want to make sure we have one brand is called just pomegranate juice, and another brand is called pure pomegranate juice. But 90% of the pomegranate juices on the market are cut with white grape juices or apple juice. And then they put enough pomegranate in there to color it fully. You only put 10-20% pomegranate, and you swear it's pomegranate juice. But you want the pure, and it's so strong, I dilute it. Okay? So I can't drink straight grape juice. I don't know about you guys, but it's too strong. I have to dilute it. The pomegranate's really strong, and it's dark. The real pomegranate juice is dark in that. My daughter used to just sit there. She'd sit there for an hour, picking out one seed at a time, doing that, putting it down, born on Saturday, taking out another, and I just, give me that thing and then juice it. But that was her whole thing, to sit down and bring her a pomegranate. It was like, okay, 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, people were better. For just 2 weeks was shown to reduce the blood pressure, inhibit viral infections, and also help with dental plaque. It also reduces breast cancer and prostate cancer. How do they know that? Because you could just do a study how much pomegranate juice consumption in this group of people, and you see that they have higher incidence of breast or prostate cancer. And breast and prostate cancer are pretty much the same thing. It's a male-female version of the same disease. Okay, 8 ounces a day for 3 months improved the oxygen getting to the heart muscle. American Journal of College of Cardiology. Okay. Other researchers report that long-term consumption of pomegranate juice compacts erectile dysfunction. Number one side effect of all these blood pressure medications is impotency. Okay. Number one cause in the United States is medications. And here's just a fruit. Same things, heart weakness, poor circulation, and all this stuff. And there's the heart valve and the seeds. It's like, someone is saying, oh, good for the heart. Sunflower looks like an eye. It goes on and on and on. Okay? So think of this. A simple thing you can tell people. Okay, this is a lachesis patient. We'll put them on lachesis 6C or 30C once a day, and we want you to drink some more pomegranate. Oh yeah, I like pomegranate juice. And then they start drinking it. You got a more complete. Now, of course, most people know this is one of my favorite herbs of all time. Cayenne pepper. I only carry a few things in my car. Of course, I have a homeopathic first aid kit in my glove compartment. You call it glove compartment here? Okay. Not the boot, the little boot. Okay? And in the side door, I have a few tinctures in there. And one of the tinctures is cayenne pepper. Okay, so I gave this talk a few years ago. So I do all this research, and they can measure the amount of heat in the cayenne. It's measurable. They used to call it BTUs. I think, no offense to the British, but somehow they dropped the BTUs. There's some other way of measuring it. But back then I was selling, average cayenne's 10, 15,000 BTUs. So I was selling 35,000 BTUs. And then I got smart. I learned that it goes up to 250,000, and it's called pepper spray. So I have pepper spray in my car too. Yeah, I wonder. No, don't have a heart attack around me. And another reason pepper spray, it's the most spiritual way to defend yourself without harming animal or person. And you can get it. There's the videos and the things. You can get it where I can pull this thing. It could be on your keychain, and I can spray that wall. You get 40 feet. No one can get close to you for 40 feet. Animal, creature, drunkard, nobody. And it will burn their eyes and all that and go away, and their eyes will be healthier. My first teacher, right, well, she's psychic. And yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about. So my first teacher was Dr. Christopher, 1970, 71, and he sat there and gave this talk on a heart attack. And most people heard this story over and over. But he practiced in Utah with the Mormons who didn't believe in any drugs or medicine or vaccines. So 35, 40 years of experience. He says, first thing he says, I never lost a heart attack case. None. With cayenne. And once they had one heart attack and he saved them acutely with cayenne pepper, then he put them on cayenne. And everybody's in there, I'm 20 years old or something. Looking, yeah, this guy. And then he takes a tablespoon and puts it in a glass of water. We're all sitting in our chairs. What's he going to do with that? And he takes it and he drinks it. Okay? He just drinks it straight down. Whole tablespoon of cayenne pepper. So see, nothing. And we went, yeah, okay. I'm waiting for his face to turn red, smoke to come out of his ears, and all this stuff. So he said, oh, you guys aren't impressed. And we said, no, we're impressed. He said, well, let me show you another one. So he takes another teaspoon or tablespoon and puts it in a glass of water. And he takes it and he puts it in his eye. So he used so much cayenne, and it was such a thing for him. His heart, his circulation, if you add some cayenne to your hawthorn berries, whatever you add cayenne to, it will potentiate it. Because as soon as cayenne hits the tongue, it opens your blood vessels. So cayenne will carry any herb you want to any place you want. okay? And you see all kinds of things. You can make oils and put some cayenne and rub it on your legs for varicose veins. You can do all kinds of miraculous stuff with cayenne, stimulant stuff, and that. But bleeding, so my wife cut off the tip of her finger, talking on the phone, cooking, tip of her finger's cut off. Hemorrhage, spurting blood, okay? Tried every remedy we could think of, nothing. And I said, well, you know what you got to do. She said, I know. So she took her finger and stuck it in cayenne, and it stopped the bleeding instantly. Okay? And it healed without a scar, so it's amazing stuff. So also for joint pains, it's in every drugstore now as the capsaicin. Capsaicin is just an extract. I gave it to my mother, and she would rub it in her legs, lotion. You can buy a lotion or pills. It's anti-inflammatory. When you got heat and pain and all that, they take a hot pain remedy and it cures it physically, okay? So one night my mother woke up and both her knees were burning, okay? And she called me the next morning and she said, what's going on? My knees are burning. I started laughing. She said, what are you laughing about? I said, you've been taking that capsaicin. And she got approving. Both her knees start burning. I said, it's time to stop. So it helped. But they're all hot. The allopaths are all hot on this capsaicin. We have commercials everywhere and all that stuff. Okay? They also use it for stiff joints and all this stuff, and wounds and cuts and things.